There is a fine line between the greatest athletes of all time and the most talented athletes of all time. And with this debate and with Aaron Rodgers playing at the level that he's playing at still, into his late 30s like we see today, a lot of people have been asking this question, who is the greatest of all time? Well, I just want to point out that there's definitely a difference between the greatest of all time and the most talented of all time. I'm going to give a full breakdown of greatness versus talent and give you my top 5 most talented quarterbacks in the history of the NFL right after we hit that intro.
I gave you fair warning. Beware.
Y'all ready?
Smack him in the mouth. I gave you fair warning. Beware.
Smack him in the mouth. Yeah.
I gave you
Fair
fair
warning.
warning. Beware.
Smack him in the mouth. I don't think they ready, Mike.
I gave you fair warning.
But they
Beware.
better get ready.
Smack him in
Yo,
the mouth.
it's Phil Flames. I'm with Mike on the mic. With something brand new, one time for your mind. He gave you fair warning. Now it's time to smack him in the mouth with that raw sports talk from the town. Sweet chin music to your favorite sportscaster. Mike on the mic with sports talk that matters. Reppin' for the West, see the palms in the logo. Mike on the mic, sports pod, let's go.
When you're talking about talent versus greatness, it's a very, like I said, it's a very fine line. You have to be very specific when you're talking about this topic out to the rest of the world, what you mean when you say the most talented quarterback versus the greatest quarterback or greatest player of all time. You're talking about any topic, right? This can be applied to a lot of topics across all sports and really across anything you come across in life, your coworkers and everything like that. The most talented quarterback or the most talented players, I'm using quarterback in this example because I'm going to give my top 5 most talented, purely talented quarterbacks of all time. The most talented guys are the guys where you throw out the stats, you watch them play, you throw out the situations, you throw out the scenarios that they're in, throw all of that away, and who is the best quarterback on the field, right? There's a huge difference because when you go and you look at Tom Brady's career, and if you watch Tom Brady play on the field, it's not that Tom Brady's a bad quarterback. Tom Brady is one of the best quarterbacks of all time, still one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time, just for what he was able to do with what he had. But you also look at the scenario Tom Brady was in with the greatest coach ever, possibly the greatest organization in sports history during a time period where they're having probably the most success you're ever going to see from an NFL franchise for years to come. Maybe the Chiefs can find that level of success, but man, 6 Super Bowls in the span of time that they did it is pretty ridiculous. And even, a great quarterback does not make that happen. There's a lot more that went into the Patriots and the success of the Patriots than Tom Brady, right? But Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. You see what I'm saying? That's greatness. Winning those championships, winning MVPs, winning any accolade, winning any award, and that going towards your legacy, that's greatness. That's being great. Because even though Tom Brady wasn't the most gifted athlete in the world, Tom Brady isn't the most gifted thrower of the ball of all time, he became the greatest quarterback and the most successful quarterback to ever play the game of football. And he's probably going to hold that crown for a very long time. This kid, Patrick Mahomes, can definitely catch him, when you're looking at his future. But if you also look at the rest of the NFL, guys are coming around, especially in the AFC when you see guys like Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert. Patrick Mahomes has a lot of competition. And Tom Brady and the Patriots, that one thing that they did is they dominated that competition. That created their greatness. That created their legacy. That's the greatest of all time. Now, we're talking about the most talented of all time. Like I said, you throw all that stuff away. Throw the Super Bowls away. Throw the accolades away. Throw the stats away. Throw the records away. Throw it all away. Who's the best quarterback on the field? Who is going to perform at the highest level on the field? Who's the most gifted thrower of the football of all time? When you take away all the statistics and all of that, that is the most talented quarterback of all time. And there's a huge difference between the most talented and the greatest in any topic that you're talking about of all time. So I am Mike, and I am on the mic of the most electrifying sports podcast in the game today. I appreciate y'all for tuning into this video. I'm going to go over my top 5 quarterbacks, talent-wise, of all time. Remember, just purely talent. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you take the 1 second that it would take you to just stop for a second, tap that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a like and comment your opinions on the topic and the video, especially once it's over. If you guys can please definitely check it out, let me know. It lets me know that you enjoy the content and you don't want to see any changes. Speaking of changes, if you do want to see any changes to the show, still in the very beginning stages of my ventures on YouTube. This was an all audio podcast 2 weeks ago, right? And just kind of turned into the full YouTube and the whole shebang with the graphics and all that. If there's any suggestions y'all have, feel free to hit me up on Instagram, TikTok, any of that, any of those platforms, at Mike on the Mic Sports, across the board. I love constructive criticism, and I love improving my show to what you guys want. That's kind of how the audio podcast came to be. Just week by week, I added something new that someone else recommended, and it became what it became over time. So I'm looking for that to happen here on the YouTube show. I'd really appreciate it. So talking about the most talented quarterbacks of all time, I'm going to give you my top 5 list from 5 to 1 and kind of just give a brief description as to why I have this person in this slot. This is a real tough thing to do, and anytime you ask someone to rank a top 5 all-time list in anything, it's going to be hard to do. There's been thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of athletes to play sports. So just bear with me. You might not agree with me exactly point for point, but I'm going to give you the explanation for why I believe each person is in the slot that I have them in. So without further ado, let's get into it. First of all, I want to go over some honorable mentions, some guys that are left off the list that I definitely could see on this list for the most purely talented quarterbacks of all time. First up, Brett Favre. Dude had a legendary career, and something that I really value, and I'm going to talk about this later on also, is longevity. And the longevity that Brett Favre performed at a very high level in the NFL is amazing to me, and that stuff kind of astounds me when you play into your 40s and you play at a high level. Brett Favre in his early 40s was playing NFC Championship games, against really good teams, young superstar level teams like the New Orleans Saints. And even in that Bounty Gate year, that New Orleans Saints team was loaded, and Brett Favre and the Minnesota Vikings that year took them to the limit. So I think Brett Favre definitely deserves an honorable mention. He could be number 6 to me. I mean, my number 5 guy kind of just knocked a bunch of guys off the list that would be on here if it was maybe last season. Another honorable mention I want to give to Andrew Luck. That guy came into the league and was an elite quarterback from day one, and he just balled out from the start, right? And Andrew Luck, career got cut short due to injuries, but I feel like Andrew Luck was going to have a Hall of Fame career. He was going to win Super Bowls for that Indianapolis Colts team. Imagine if Andrew Luck came back to the Colts today, what that team has around him today. Michael Pittman Jr. at receiver with T.Y. Hilton as the wide receiver too. That's crazy to think about. Jonathan Taylor becoming a really good running back out of the backfield. That offensive line is elite. That's exactly what Andrew Luck needed back then. The defense is amazing. The defense is maybe top 3, but definitely top 5. Imagine if Andrew Luck had that team around him right now today. That would be absolutely ridiculous. Another honorable mention goes to John Elway. Yeah, he won a couple Super Bowls with the Broncos, obviously, and he just had that it factor. And he's still involved with the Broncos to this day as a part owner of the team, but he just had that it factor. And a lot of these guys on the most talented list are going to just have that it factor, and that's the biggest difference. And then Warren Moon, he went to the CFL and made his way to the NFL after that. I think Warren Moon was like what Cam Newton wanted his career to be like. Warren Moon was a baller back in his day, and he was one of the first quarterbacks to really focus on mobility paired with a really strong arm and throwing wise. Warren Moon is one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time, so I'm going to give him an honorable mention as well. So let's get straight into the list. Let's talk about number 5. And at number 5, the most talented quarterbacks of all time, I have Patrick Mahomes. Now, I know I just said that I value longevity, and that kind of stuff astounds me, which will make you say maybe Patrick Mahomes shouldn't be on this list yet. But when it's all said and done, barring anything wild or ridiculous or unbelievable to happen to Patrick Mahomes, knock on wood, even though I hate the guy because I'm a Chargers fan. I never want anything bad to happen to a phenom like that or anyone in sports, but especially not a young phenom. And I'm calling him a phenom because he's a phenomenal football player, Patrick Mahomes. As I was saying, I have him at 5 already, despite him not having a whole career for me to look at yet, because I think Patrick Mahomes, sincerely, will go down as the greatest quarterback to ever play the position. Whether he doesn't win another Super Bowl and just has a long career like Russell Wilson's, where he's just an elite quarterback every year, year in and year out, or he goes on and wins 4, 5, 6 Super Bowls in his career. I mean, as long as those Chiefs has that combination together, they're Super Bowl contenders. But winning Super Bowls is a very hard thing to do in the NFL, and it's not to be taken lightly. And it also is a team stat more than an individual player stat. But I got Patrick Mahomes at 5 because of that fact that I think he's going to be the greatest ever to play the game when it's all said and done. And if you watch the guy on the field, I mean, I think if I was going to build a quarterback on the video game on Madden, I would just build Patrick Mahomes. I mean, if you pair his arm strength, paired with his mobility, paired with his awareness, paired with his just knack for making magic happen, I don't think we've ever seen a combination of everything put together like this. Aaron Rodgers has to be the closest to it, but I think that Patrick Mahomes in his prime is probably going to be better than Aaron Rodgers was in his prime, and that is high praise for Patrick Mahomes because Aaron Rodgers is on this list as well, and I can assume, you can assume where he's sitting right now. So Patrick Mahomes at number 5. Everything he's done so far has been phenomenal, and the thing that I've been calling him is the Phenom Patrick Mahomes, and I don't know if that name's ever going to stick, but he is a phenom. At number 4, I have Steve Young. Played the game for a lot shorter time as well, but during his time, Steve Young took the reins of the 49ers from Joe Montana, and it never skipped a beat. And I think Steve Young was more talented than Joe Montana, and that's what scares me a lot. If Steve Young never got hurt, Steve Young possibly could have won a couple more Super Bowls for the 49ers, and the 49ers would be probably the most successful franchise in NFL history right now. Steve Young came in the league, and from the first snap was absolutely amazing. Very good on the run. He's another guy that really brought mobility to the game early before a lot of guys ahead of his time. Steve Young was an amazing quarterback in the NFL, and he doesn't have the numbers that these legendary, all-time greats have, like Tom Brady and these guys. But when it comes to pure talent, I feel like Steve Young is right there with them, if not above them in that category. Number 3, I have Michael Vick, and I know Michael Vick is a little bit of a controversial pick with, everything that went down with the dog fighting and all that. If that never happens, I think Michael Vick wins the Super Bowl in Atlanta, and I think he stays in Atlanta for a lot longer than it would have been if he, wouldn't have committed the crimes he committed and got sent to jail for what he did, which he rightfully deserved it, and even he admitted that he deserved everything that happened to him. But on the field, Michael Vick was absolutely ridiculous. It was like a cheat code. It was like if you had a quarterback with 99 overall speed, and that's exactly what he was, a quarterback with 99 overall speed. But what's underrated is that Michael Vick could throw the ball with the best of them. Lamar Jackson needs to go, and I'm sure he already is, and just model his entire game after Michael Vick, because if Lamar Jackson can get to a level as a thrower that Michael Vick got to, combined with that elusiveness and speed as a runner, it's unstoppable. What are you going to do? You're going to put your best safety in quarterback spy, take him out of coverage? Because I feel like that's the only thing that you could do to stop a guy like Michael Vick in his heyday. Man, imagine Michael Vick when they got Julio Jones and the Falcons. Imagine Michael Vick when they continued that dominance with Tony Gonzalez and others. Michael Vick is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever line up, and Michael Vick is probably one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever line up. I got him in my 3 spot, just purely on the field, dominated, and it looked like he was moving in slow motion compared to everyone else. It was absolutely ridiculous. At number 2, I got Dan Marino, and Dan Marino is a perfect example of a guy that is uber talented and is an elite quarterback in the NFL for his entire career, but doesn't win a Super Bowl, isn't going to finish ranked number 1 in any of the stats just because of how inflated the stats are, especially nowadays. But Dan Marino, if you go and watch Dan Marino tapes, you will be like, oh my God, this guy actually might be who was closest to Patrick Mahomes as far as talent-wise. Dan Marino was a gifted quarterback, and every time he lined up, he put everything out on the field. And when it comes to just pure talent, if you throw all the accolades away, you can almost make an argument for Dan Marino being at the number 1 spot for most talented quarterback ever. Dan Marino was ridiculous. Unfortunately, the guy in the number 1 spot is just legendary, and you probably won't ever top it as far as the amount of time he did it for and is still doing it to this day. But Dan Marino deserves a spot on this list. I got him in my number 2 spot. Let me know where you guys would rank Dan Marino in the list of most talented quarterbacks of all time. I want to emphasize that because I know that my words are going to get taken out of context. Most talented ever. Take away the accolades, take away the stats. Who was the best football player on the field week in and week out? I think Dan Marino's the second best quarterback ever in that category. And number one, drum roll. That was the best drum roll I can do. I guess I could do better. There we go. There's a drum roll. It's Aaron Rodgers. You guys knew it was coming, and I've been alluding to it basically the entire list. If I hadn't said Aaron Rodgers' name by one, he's going to be one, right? Aaron Rodgers, other than Patrick Mahomes, if you were going to build a quarterback, like I said, Aaron Rodgers has it all. He has the arm strength of the best ever, right? He's one of the strongest thrower of the balls ever. He has the mind, of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, just a super mind on offense. He's cool, he's calm, he's collective. You never see him freaking out even when they're losing, winning, things are going bad, things are going good. Aaron Rodgers is under center and leading the team. Aaron Rodgers' only knock has been injuries earlier on in his career, but since then and since he's been healthy, Aaron Rodgers has been probably the most talented quarterback of my life that I've seen play, right? Aaron Rodgers has been balling out since his first day getting that starting job from Brett Favre, and he was gifted with these kind of things. And the throws that this man makes is stuff that you will only see out of one other man's arm, and especially in today's, and that's Patrick Mahomes. He will be throwing off his back foot while being murdered by a defensive lineman and throw an absolute dime in the back right corner of the end zone 30 yards down the field. It's absolutely ridiculous, and Aaron Rodgers is the most gifted quarterback and gifted thrower of the ball of all time. But is Aaron Rodgers the greatest quarterback of all time? Does he have the highest level of greatness of all time? No. I mean, that's Tom Brady in my opinion. And Aaron Rodgers is in that list as well. And a lot of these guys are going to be on that list as well. But I just wanted to talk about for a little bit, there's a huge difference between greatness and talented. Most talented all time is Aaron Rodgers. And the rest of them for my top 5 list are there. So let me know what you guys are thinking about this topic. I got on and I talked unscripted for this. So just letting you guys know, didn't have any show notes. Had a little technical difficulty with the show notes for the original video that's supposed to come up today. So I decided just to pick a topic that I have on my topic idea board and just kind of go off on it and give my opinion off the top of my head. I looked into everyone's careers and picked out the top 5 most talented ever. And I feel like I have a good list here. And let me know what you guys think. Drop in the comments your top 5 most talented. Not the greatest ever. Like I said, there's a huge difference. Top 5 most talented quarterbacks to ever play the game of football. Drop a comment for me. I want to know what you guys think this list should look like. You can also add some honorable mentions if you want, but I definitely want to see y'all's top 5s so we can compare between each other and all come together on this topic. And I want to spread more awareness of this topic because I feel like this is something that gets ignored a lot in these conversations, whether it's with MJ versus LeBron, whether it's Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady, whether it's anyone in any sport to ever play sports in general. So that's it for me. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to this week's episode, or I should say just today's episode. This is Mike on the mic, and then this is me saying until next time.
I gave you fair warning. Beware.
Y'all ready?
I gave you fair warning. Beware.
Smack him in the mouth. Yeah.
I gave you
Fair
fair
warning.
warning. Beware.
Smack him in the mouth. They ready, Mike?
I gave you fair warning.
They
Beware.
better get ready. Yo, it's Phil Flames. I'm with Mike on the mic with something brand new. One time for your mind. He gave you fair warning.